We don't have to introduce ourselves another night.
Nah, son, they know who he is.
All right. So, Raj, why don't you tell me what the best type of cardio is?
This is it. You're looking at it. So we got steady state versus interval or high intensity interval, right? So steady state, all cardio works. All cardio works and all has a place and time. But steady state cardio is not going to burn as much calories and body fat as interval or high intensity interval training, which is HIIT. Now HIIT can be done on anywhere in the world. The HIIT can be done on a boxing bag. It can be done sprinting on a field. It can be done in the gym, jump rope. It can be done on cardio machines, on whatever. But HIIT cardio will burn a tremendous higher amount of fat than steady state will. But it'll also burn a lot of glycogen, carbohydrates stored in the muscle. So what does that mean? What does that mean for someone like us or someone that's training to get into shape? In layman's terms, the best type of cardio for the fastest result in calories burned and fat loss is HIIT, high intensity interval cardio, sprints, or I like it on the treadmill, on the spin bike, because it's very safe. There's not a lot of impact. You can't sprain your ankle or anything. HIIT would be my number one go-to choice, but can HIIT be catabolic? That's a big question. Yes, HIIT can be catabolic if you're in a calorie deficit, or if you're doing it fasted, or you're doing it after a tremendous workout. So if you train legs, for instance, and you're dieting for the summer or for a show, so your calories are low, your glucose, your glycogen stores are very low, they are when we're dieting, and you train legs like you killed your legs, and now you're pretty much running on nothing. Right. After your workout, if you guys are dieting, you really shouldn't have any glycogen stores left because you use them all up. So if after that leg workout you go and you do HIIT and your glycogen stores aren't there, yes, you can tap into muscle and you can break down muscle protein, muscle tissue. So I don't recommend doing HIIT fasted. I don't recommend doing HIIT too much when you're getting really, really lean and really close to a show. But for the regular guys and girls out there, for the regular people that aren't competitive bodybuilders close to a show, it's almost pointless to walk or jog. Yeah. Because they're going to get so much more done in a 15-minute or even 10-minute HIIT workout than they will 30, 40 minutes of steady state. Now, I'm not talking about like true athletes that are really working their heart rate up and breaking a sweat. I'm talking about the 99% of people in gyms that are on their cell phones or reading a newspaper. That's another thing. If you can read a book, you're not doing cardio. Like you're not doing cardio hard enough because you can actually read, and you're not reading efficiently because you are doing cardio. So you're doing two things like pretty shitty. Right. Human beings aren't good multitaskers. This is a fact. This has been proven. There's been studies done. We don't multitask great. So instead of doing an hour of half-assed cardio, reading a magazine or a book, which I see so many people do, especially older people, I don't know what the deal is with that, just do 30 minutes of reading and 30 minutes of cardio. So I would say HIIT is the number one best type of cardio to do, but it has a place and time. So I'll do mixed. I'll do HIIT and I'll do steady state. And sometimes when I get closer to the show, depending on my conditioning, I might do a little bit more of the steady state. Okay. Steady state cardio, for me, being in a calorie deficit, working out really, really hard, is going to give me results. I'm going to get leaner. But most people in the gym, jogging or walking 30 minutes, they all look the same. They never get leaner. Yeah. One of the huge reasons is because they become efficient. After a certain period of time, they become efficient at the walking and the jogging. You can never become efficient at something that's very, very difficult, like HIIT.
So for an average person, how often a week would you suggest them to do HIIT?
Completely depends on their calorie intake, how overweight they are, and their genetics. So, and also you take two twin brothers, and they train the same exact amount, they lift the same amount of weight, they eat the same exact diet, but one of them has a desk job, he's an accountant, and the other one works for UPS, he's walking around all day. These are factors, so a lot of times I'll get questions asked here on the YouTube comments or on Instagram, and no one can answer these questions of how many carbs, how many minutes of cardio. I have no clue, man. I don't even know for myself. I'll start here like today with XYZ. Mm-hmm. Next week it changes. Right. If you're an inactive person, if you sit around at home all the time, you're gonna have to do more cardio than someone that has a day job that they're on their feet all the time.
A lot more working, yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. So what would you say to a lot of people that want to put on size? You know, a lot of people say, you know, winter's here, we got to put on, you know, we got to bulk before the summer. What's the best way you think to put on some size?
Get serious. I've never had an issue with myself or anyone that I've helped, a client or a friend, putting on weight. Mm-hmm. Anyone that's ever came to me and said I can't gain weight, they've gained weight with me. You have to get serious. You have to put your body in an anabolic state. Mm-hmm. You have to be lifting hard and heavy. You have to be progressively increasing volume, intensity, or reps, or all three if you can, on a weekly basis. And you have to feed yourself. You have to be at a calorie surplus. If you're trying to keep abs and get big, you're kind of stubbing your feet, you know? Like, you have to either focus. Is it possible to get bigger and leaner? Absolutely. If you're really eating good and you're really training hard, and especially if it's your first year and your first few years you're a beginner, you can grow and get leaner. But for the most part, when you're trying to gain muscle and grow and get bigger and stronger, you're at a calorie surplus, you're less likely to get lean. So you have to decide, do I want to be GQ and take selfies for Instagram, or do I truly want to get bigger? So you need to eat the most amount of food possible without getting fat. So you start increasing your calories little by little by little. Once you see you might spill over and you start to get a little bit bloated and a little bit fat, you pull back. It's also a good idea to cycle. How high calorie days, low calorie days, higher carb days, but I wouldn't go so low when you're in a deficit. Okay. But the key is to be pushing yourself, fueling your workouts for optimal training. You need to feel good and be energetic when you're training. A lot of guys eat so much in the off season, after the first few weeks that they feel great and strong, they end up feeling like crap. Mm-hmm. Because once you eat so much, besides the fact of insulin sensitivity changes and you become lethargic, but you also, when body fat goes up, your hormones change. So their estrogen might raise, their testosterone might be out of whack, and they'll just end up feeling like crap. Another thing is, I see a lot of younger guys copying workouts that the top pros are doing. Top pros that are eating so much more, have so much more density, muscle maturity, and have been doing this for a long time. Right. When you do 10 reps of 50 pounds, you grow from it. You might grow from it for a few weeks, a few months, maybe even a year or two, but in the future, you're gonna need to do more. Right. So we progressively increased our volume, our reps, our sets, everything. But a beginner, by doing so much volume, they're gonna be burning out. They're gonna be burning calories and stunting their growth. Mm-hmm. So almost like a Dorian Yates style of training, the high intensity training, max overload training, max OT, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of old training routines like that I followed myself in my early teens. It's low volume, very, very intense and heavy. So warm up, and then warm up again, and go heavy, and then go home and eat.
One thing I think is pretty good to touch up on is, as you just mentioned, when you grew up, there wasn't social media that you could just look up videos. You had to go to magazines, you had to go to shows, you had to ask people in the gym, you had to figure it out on your own. These kids, everybody these days, you could just go online, YouTube what The Rock is eating, YouTube what you're eating, and how you're training for what you choose to show, and think that they can be like you just because of that.
Yeah.
How would you compare that to now to your progress from when you started?
Well, I think Instagram is awesome. Social media is awesome for the fact that you have access to so much more. Mm-hmm. But I think it's also terrible because having more knowledge is not power. Mm-hmm. Reading a bunch of books, going to university, having a bunch of knowledge doesn't make you smart, doesn't make you successful unless you apply that. Right. So knowing a bunch of shit never got anyone anywhere. Applying some shit got somebody somewhere. So I see what it also did is it made the sport more mainstream. We have much more people bodybuilding, many more competitors, men's physique, bikini, classic. They're huge now because it's more mainstream. So I think more of the average population has been exposed to bodybuilding and that's awesome because of social media. But that doesn't mean every single one of them is going to be really, really good and hardcore. Yeah. I think back in the day when you had to go and go find books and really research on the internet, I didn't have YouTube or Instagram. I had to go look at forums. Right. Ronnie Coleman's old coach, had a forum called Muscle Mayhem. And we used to go on there and people would share tips and I would learn about post-training carbs and just all this stuff. So who's going to go and do that? Only someone that's diehard.
Yeah.
But just swiping and looking through Instagram, it doesn't take... so my point is there was information out there back then. There's information out there today. But the people that are really passionate and really diehard, they're going to be the ones that really utilize it. You can follow a million fitness celebrities and a million bodybuilders, myself and The Rock. That's not going to change your lifestyle. It's not going to change the way you approach eating or approach training unless you're really serious about it.
Yeah.
So social media is amazing in some ways, and I think it's really bad in other ways.
I agree completely.
That's a whole nother video.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to bring up for my next question is with bulking, with cutting, a lot of people work full-time jobs. What is the easiest meals to make to eat clean?
I think it's so much easier than people think. Like, it's easier and cheaper. Like, so many people I can't afford. Dude, your average teenager, your average 20-year-old eats out like once a day. Mm-hmm. That 1 or 2 meals out is more expensive than 5 meals when you're cooking yourself. Yeah. So even, I started making my own meals when I was 14, 15. Right. By 15 or 16, I can't remember which, I had my own refrigerator in my mom's house. And I would get chicken in bulk. I worked, I paid for my own food. I was a busboy at a restaurant. I used to get chicken in bulk when it was, under $2 a pound. And I would cut it up and I would freeze it and I'd cook for the week or whatever. Carbohydrates are cheap. Mm-hmm. Potatoes, oatmeal, and rice are not expensive. You can get eggs and chicken and beef for fairly low price. So making these things is not difficult either. Cooking rice, cooking oatmeal, it's pretty straightforward and simple. But if you want to know, you said the easiest meals, if you're on the go and you really don't have time, you can literally just soak oatmeal in almond milk or in water. And you ever been to a deli and you get that oatmeal pudding kind of thing that they make? That's not cooked oatmeal. They just pour milk in it and put it in the fridge. So if you know you got to get up early and go to school tomorrow and you don't have any food ready, take a cup of oatmeal, put in a cup of, I don't drink milk, but almond milk or water, cinnamon, some sweetener. And if you don't have any protein, you don't want to put liquid egg whites, you can put a scoop of protein powder in it and it'll taste incredible. It'll taste like a dessert and it'll be ready in the morning when you wake up.
Quick, easy breakfast.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't had a can of tuna in 15 years, but that was a big thing I used to have. I used to have solid white albacore. That was a bodybuilder thing. Mm-hmm. That was before we knew mercury and all that crap. But canned tuna, they even have bagged chicken nowadays, which I do not recommend. But point is, there's always something on the go.
Right.
A really, really easy go-to and also cost-efficient for younger guys is whole chickens already cooked at a supermarket. Mm. Almost every supermarket does it. They have it themselves. Yep. They're freaking amazing. I love them.
Up too,
yeah, I love them. They taste great. And I think you can get them anywhere from $7 to $10 for a whole chicken. And if I'm not mistaken, that's at least 3 meals for me. So it could be even more. It could be 4 or 5 meals if you're eating 6 to 10 ounces a meal, Right. So for, let's call it $10, let's even call it 3 meals. That's $3.33. That's not bad at all.
Right. I mean, I definitely agree with the chicken, potato, rice, and ground beef. I mean, right now, the cleanest meals I'm doing right now is chicken and sweet potato and then ground beef and white rice. And I just portion out between my carbs and my protein, and then I get my eggs. And it's costing me less than $150 a week.
It's just one of those things that if you give a shit enough, you'll do it.
Yeah.
The people that complain and say, I couldn't, I didn't have this, so I went out and ate fast food, are the people that don't care enough. I've ran out of food many times. I run out of rice often. That happens to me a lot. Go to a Chinese restaurant. It's $1. They give you $1, give you a couple cups of rice.
It's just white rice.
There's no excuse. You just have to kind of think outside the box and not be a lazy fat ass.
I agree completely. One thing I would like to know is...
Is that a new tattoo? That one.
Yes, sir.
That's hot.
Thank you, man.
Can you guys see that? I like that.
Thank you.
You can tell it's fresh.
Yeah, a few months ago.
All right, what was the question?
At your level of fitness and bodybuilding, anybody that you go against, and even including you, you put your entire life into this. This is what you do. This is what you breathe. This, every day you wake up, you go to sleep, is bodybuilding. How much does genetics play against hard work? Do you think hard work can beat genetics?
That's one of those like motivational hard work beat genetics on Instagram. It's a weird question. Can hard work beat genetics that's not working hard? Yes. Can hard work with mediocre genetics beat great genetics that is also working hard? No. Genetics is number one, right? So any human, it's not an excuse, but it's number one. Any man, woman, or child can make changes in their body and body composition. Right. Anyone can get leaner. Anyone can get more muscular, unless you have like an illness, a medical illness that's keeping you from like a thyroid disorder, people can't lose weight, or like a muscle wasting disease. So please don't. I'm not talking about those people, but an old lady can get lean and build muscle. It's harder when they're old. A little kid can do it too. That doesn't mean you're going to be Mr. or Mrs. Olympia.
Right.
So every single person out there has the opportunity, has the ability to be the best they can be. It might suck compared to the best in the world. It might suck compared to the people in the gym, but they still can get better. So genetics is key. If you don't have the right genetics, you can't just work hard and become a LeBron James. You can't become an Olympic athlete or Mr. or Mrs. Olympia in our case.
Yeah.
So yes, genetics is number one. It's key. But how many people do you think have walked this earth with Ronnie Coleman genetics that never even picked up weight?
Yeah.
There's probably homeless guys out there that are skinny and malnourished that literally have the genetic structure, the DNA, and the capability of being the fastest track runner, a power lifter, a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
So without really putting in the work and trying and pushing, you don't know how good your genetics are.
Yeah.
Ronnie never knew what he was capable of.
Yeah, no.
Flex they didn't know from day one. People look at them after 15 years of busting their ass, blood, sweat, and tears, and they say, oh, well, he has good genetics. Okay, yes, he does. And that's why he is the king. That's why he's Ronnie Coleman. But he didn't know it. Yeah. Right off the bat, he had amazing genetics. Don't get me wrong. Ronnie looked sick even before he was competing.
Straight out of high school.
He always worked out. He was an athlete. But he didn't know he had what it took to be literally the best in the world.
Yeah.
You gotta view it as like a seed, right? Like a plant, a flower, or whatever. You have a handful of seeds. You don't know what these seeds are.
Right.
It's a sunflower seed. It's a poppy seed. It's a seed for roses. But they all look the same. You don't know what it is until you put it in the ground. Use very good, high quality soil. You give it good water and sun. When you give it all these things, then it grows. You say, oh, it was this kind of plant. It was whatever. Now, if you take the handful of seeds, they're all the same seeds, and you take half of them and you put them in some shitty soil and kind of don't water it that often and don't let it get great sun. It's kind of in the shade. And then the same exact seed, you put it in really high quality, nutritious soil. You give it water regularly and you give it sun. Which one's going to grow better?
No.
Okay, so even when you have the same genetics, even when you have the same seeds, the one that's gonna be in the better soil, water, and food, and those things can be represented as rest, nutrition, and training, right? The water, the food, the soil, and the sun can be food, training, and sleep.
Yeah.
So I've seen guys blow away. Forget guys, me. I've beat and surpassed many athletes that, in my opinion, blow me away genetically. When I was an amateur, I beat a hell of a lot of guys where I looked at it, I was like, holy shit, this guy's a freak. And I beat them. That was hard work. Right. And even now as a pro, I beat a lot of guys that I really truly feel like have better genetics than me. And when we say genetics, there's so many different levels of genetics. Someone might have good genetics because they have great structure. They have great shape. Someone has good genetics because they can stay lean all the time. Someone has good genetics because they put on muscle easy. So there's a lot of different types of good genetics, but like the best of the best bodybuilders have them all. The Ronnie Colemans, the Flex Wheelers, the Phil Heaths, they have the structure. Arnold as well. They have the structure. They have the capability of getting down to very, very low body fat while maintaining muscle and training hard. Some people, different regions of the world, they just have higher body fat, so it's harder for them,
Yeah, I mean, even, between that and life, I mean, Ronnie Coleman was a cop. He worked full time until he decided that he's going to just be Mr. Olympia and take bodybuilding out full.
I gotta be honest though, I think bodybuilding is easier when you work. Because I've been in both ends where I worked all day long and bodybuilded, and people think it's hard and I'm tired from work, but first of all, you burn more calories. Mm-hmm. And second of all, when you sit around and you have a free day and you do nothing but just go to you get tired, you get drowsy, and also you don't burn a lot of calories. So my opinion, not if you're working like a 15-hour job and you're trying to be number one in the world, that's tough. But when you have a few hours a day where you're busy, you're up and about and you're working or at school, I think it helps a prep. A competition prep. That's in my opinion. There's been times where in prep I had the luxury of not doing anything, and I was like, shit, I gotta get out of the house. Like I'm just sitting around here doing nothing. The time between meals, man. Sometimes when I'm out and I'm busy, I'll get hungry. I'll notice it, but all of a sudden 3.5 hours will pass. I'll miss a meal by like half an hour. I'm holy shit. But when I'm sitting at home, every 20 minutes I'm looking at the clock and the refrigerator's right there. It's like a dangerous scenario.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So all those people that like even me, like I love bodybuilding. I train 5-6 days a week, but I still work Monday through Friday. And for 6 months out of the year, I work Saturdays and Sundays as well, with my other company. And I still find time, getting tired and finding those reasons to stay home, to stay warm in the house during the winter, or to go out and see your friends at the bar. It's all just excuses. At the end of the day, if you want to look like something, if you want to look a certain way or achieve something, I strongly believe that it's really just a matter of priority.
Listen, it's just about how much you want it. Everybody wants a big house and a Ferrari and nice things, but some people want it more than others. Yeah. Some people want it, but they don't really want to work hard for it, so they won't get it. That's all. Yeah. It's not rocket science,
When eating is 85% of it. Eating is the biggest part. You eat to look how you want to look. You want to get leaner, you eat a certain way, you cut carbs. You want to get bigger, you add carbs, you eat a certain way. But the other part of it is training. You don't train the certain way when you want to cut, and you train a completely different way when you want to bulk.
That's another question too, right?
Yeah.
You had that on the list. Yeah. So, all right, so two-part. Eating, I wouldn't say it's 50-50. I wouldn't say it's 80-100. I would say eating is 100%, training is 100%. But if I was going to say which one there's more power in, most people would say training. Like when people want to lose weight, the first thing they say is, I got to get in the gym. And I tell them, no, you don't. Because telling a person that's not dieting, that's not working out, to start dieting and go work, it's too much. Mm-hmm. So like an overweight regular person, I tell them just don't worry about the gym for now. Now, the reason I say that is because there's more power in food. Why? If you train 3 hours a day, which is a lot, but you eat a pie of pizza and a bunch of donuts every day, you're not going to get leaner.
100%.
If you train and you do PRs and you lift heavy weight and you're bodybuilding to the T, but you're not feeding yourself, you're not going to get bigger. You're not going to gain muscle.
Right.
So training alone doesn't have as much power. Food alone has a lot of power. If you overeat, you gain weight. If you undereat, you lose weight. Right. If you don't go to the gym tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next day, but you go into a calorie deficit, whatever your resting metabolic rate is, you're going to lose weight every single day. You're not going to lose weight every single day if you're doing cardio and working out and eating too much. That's all I mean. So there's more power in that. But the other question is an amazing question. It's a huge misconception. People think that their training style should be different if they're trying to be a fitness GQ model, a men's physique, classic physique, or bodybuilder. Regular people and even girls that don't want to get too big, I tell them, go pick the biggest mass monster and train like him. And they're like, really? Look, when you're in the weight room, you're in there for one reason. To build strength and muscle. So I guess two reasons, right? To build strength and muscle. If you're dieting to get leaner, if you're not dieting, if you're trying to get leaner, you diet and you do cardio.
Right.
If you're trying to get bigger, you do less cardio, you eat more. But that training is always in a manner where you're going to increase intensity and weight and volume and progressively increase week after week to get bigger and stronger and faster. So that should not change. One of the biggest misconceptions in bodybuilding is when you want to get leaner for the summer, you train faster and you do more reps and sets. Absolutely, you're going to get leaner, but that's called cardio.
Right.
So you're taking this weightlifting exercise, which is really designed to make you big, more muscular and stronger, and you're not lifting as heavy because you're not resting as much between sets, and you're just kind of doing cardio. So I trained the same before I ever competed, the same when I was in men's physique, same when I did classic. I trained for symmetry and size. There's no difference. I don't think a men's open bodybuilder, a classic physique competitor, a men's physique competitor should be trained differently. There's a lot of men's physique competitors that are just as strong as bodybuilders. There's a lot of men's physique competitors out there that can squat 500 pounds, and deadlift 500-600 pounds. Quite impressive. Your genetics, your supplementation, your food is going to dictate how big you get. But everyone should be training the simple basics, fundamentals, and pushing themselves to train heavy. Because even if you're not a competitor and you're just going to the gym and you're doing the same thing week in and week out, you might look good, especially if you have great genetics. It'll come to you pretty easy. But after a while, you're not going to change.
Right.
So if you're doing 30 pounds for 20 reps every single arm day, nothing's going to change. To get a new result, you need a new stimulus.
Right.
That's the way the body works. It adapts to what you do, and it won't change until you introduce a new stimulus. What's that? Much more volume, much more weight, a new exercise, or a new angle. And a new stimulus is also what's going to make you sore.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. One of the biggest things besides eating, besides training, is supplementation. I think including a good balance of all three of these and having a good knowledge of all three of these will get you your achievement faster and better. You'd have a higher quality shape that you would want to achieve. A lot of people are scared to take protein, to take creatine, to take certain things because they're afraid they'll get too big or anything because they don't understand it. What would you say to those type of people that to help them understand not to be afraid of supplementation, to embrace it, it's to help you?
It's an edge. On top of the eating and on top of the training, it'll make you better. It's an edge. So I don't think anyone, and when we say supplementation, I'll go as far as saying, because a lot of people are thinking it, drug use as well. Same shit.
Yeah.
Drug use and supplementation is supplemental to the training and the intent and the dieting. So I don't think anyone should really be dabbling with either one until they got their training and their diet down pat. Like, look, a Ferrari is one of the best performing cars on the planet, right? Are you a professional race car driver?
No.
If I give you a Ferrari, are you going to set record-breaking lap times?
No.
So why do people think if they take all these drugs or these supplements, all of a sudden they're going to be the same as the person promoting them? It's a good analogy. I'm proud of myself.
Very good analogy.
You need to learn how to drive at a very high level before I give you a Ferrari so you can master, So you need to push yourself. You need to push your genetics, push your body's limits as far as you can naturally before you dabble in drugs. And you need to learn training and training and dieting before you expect supplementation. You can start supplementation early, but before you expect it to make huge changes in your body. When I was in my earlier years, supplementation for me really did a lot. It made a big difference. I was using post-workout carbohydrates. I was using glutamine. I was using creatine and protein powder. Other than that, I used, citrulline, agmatine, arginine. I had pre-workouts, but the fundamentals were creatine. I used a lot of glutamine when I was younger. It messes my stomach up nowadays if I take too much. Protein powder was a big part because, I was working and going to school, so I would eat as many meals as I could, but a lot of my meals would be a shake in class or something if I couldn't get to it. And creatine, I get great results even now from creatine. Yeah. Seriously, I really do. Within like a week or 2 weeks of taking 5 grams post-workout with my carbs and alpha lipoic acid to increase the uptake, I feel fuller and stronger. I get a fullness because it hydrates the muscle. I hold more water in my muscles, and I feel like there's so many benefits to that. That's gonna not only make me strong, it makes me stronger, but it's also hydrating my muscle. The last thing you want to do is not have a fully hydrated muscle when you're trying to train optimally.
Well, that's another thing that I'd like to talk about is hydration. How important is it to make sure you drink 1 gallon, 2 gallons of water, as much water as you can, to stop drinking soda if you can, to try to cut down your alcohol intake if you really want to achieve a certain look, if you want to achieve a certain level of health. A lot of people I've noticed will choose either going out and to a bar or partying or drinking, but they just came from the gym, but now they're drinking.
Well, that was like a 3-part question. Water is extremely important. Your body's 80% of water. If I even need to explain that to anyone, you guys need to start from square one, because your body, your muscles, you take a big bodybuilder with full muscles and you dehydrate that muscle, it's going to get tiny. Mm-hmm. So that's why you need water. That being said, health and looks doesn't always go hand in hand. You'll see people that look really, really good on the cover of a magazine. They're not healthy at all.
Right.
So you'll see a lot of people get rock hard abs and get in shape, and they drink occasionally. Maybe they even do recreational drugs. They drink diet soda, a lot of chemicals, but they look good.
Right.
So they don't really always go hand in hand. Diet sodas, artificial sweeteners, processed foods, they're just not good for you.
Right.
Can you eat them and look good? Yeah, absolutely. But they're not good for you.
Right.
So looking good and being an athlete are also not, they don't go hand in hand. If you're truly, trying to be an optimal athlete and perform at a high level, do you think Diet Coke's going to help you?
No.
Would it harnish? I mean, I don't know if it would really hurt an athlete, but it's just, I know it's not a something that can help you. Right. So anything that you're putting in your mouth as a bodybuilder and athlete, you should be thinking, how is this helping me? Your vegetables, you eat your vegetables to help digestion. You get certain nutrients from them, your protein to build muscle, your carbohydrates and fat as fuel sources, water for hydration, I will have branched chain amino acids. They sometimes I want to flavor my water. I'll make myself iced tea and I'll sweeten it with stevia. So there's other variations. I'll even make myself diet soda with naturally flavored seltzer and stevia. If I really want a Diet Coke, if I'm having a burger and fries and I'm at a restaurant, I'll order it. But I don't buy diet soda. I don't put those things in my house anymore. So looks, being fit and looking good, being healthy, they don't always go hand in hand. Right. Can you look good and be a bodybuilder and be as healthy as you possibly can? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So it depends on your dedication.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes time to diet and you're just not being strong mentally and you're just buying every sugar-free sweetener, every sugar-free dessert, and all these like Walden Farms, like here and there a little bit is okay, but one, it's making it harder on you, in my opinion, because you get used to having these things.
Right.
So you're going to constantly crave them and have a sweet tooth. And two, they're all processed chemicals. So it's not really, it's not good.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they just sucked it up and they dieted. They didn't have all these like fancy sugar-free diet shit that we have nowadays.
Well, the science and everything has grown tremendously in the past 5 years, 10 years. When it comes to supplementation and dieting. One big thing that's going around now is keto, which is not new, but it's going around now on social media. It's been on the news. People are talking about it like crazy. What are your views on keto?
I like keto. I think keto works really well. I just think a lot of people don't get it. Keto is a state of ketosis. And I mean, most of you guys that are listening probably know about it already. It's where you stop eating carbohydrates and it'll take 3 to 5, 6 days to adapt. You eat no carbohydrates, very, very low. The numbers are like 20 to 30 grams for an average person. Yeah. A bodybuilder my size can get away with more and still be in ketosis.
50.
That's a different subject. Every individual is different. Depends how much muscle glycogen you have, how hard you train. But it's a state almost like a hybrid car, where a hybrid car, when you get on the highway, it stops burning fuel and it starts burning one or the other. Yeah. The fuel stops and it goes to the battery. Yeah. So your body stops burning carbohydrates for fuel because that is your body's number one fuel source. Your body doesn't burn fat before carbs.
Right, so
it'll burn carbs first. So when there are no carbs, your body actually goes into a hybrid state. It goes to transformation where the fuel source becomes fat. Now, you have to be very careful and not have too high protein. The protein is very low. Again, a bodybuilder can have more. Right. I've had high protein and I've done it and I've tested my blood and I've been in ketosis. But what happens in a regular person is that the body says, you don't want to give me carbs? Okay, F you. I'll break down the protein into glycogen, into glucose. So your body will actually break down protein into glucose.
Which could deteriorate muscle, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But when you're in ketosis, it's a state that you're in. You can't mess around with. You can't like have a muffin and then get back on the diet tomorrow.
No, yeah.
You have to be very serious. It takes a very long time to get fat adapted. And when you do, you don't have the enzymes in your stomach present to digest and break down carbohydrates. So your body wouldn't even work well with carbs while you're on ketosis. So I don't think it's a tough diet. When you tell people no carbs, like, oh my God, it's hard. In my opinion, it's actually easier than low carb.
Right.
Because when you're eating carbs, you have to make them yourself. You can't eat out. There's no such thing of a healthy carbohydrate in restaurants. There's always butter and oil in them.
Butter, yeah, exactly.
You can eat ketosis literally anywhere. At a restaurant, Chinese restaurant, Italian restaurant, a freaking a bodega, a deli, you could get a diner anywhere.
Yep.
And sometimes you don't feel very full when you don't have a carbohydrate, but fats are more satiating.
Right.
They're going to curb sugar cravings. They say keto gives you better sleep, better energy. There's not going to be a crash. If any of you guys have like a 9 to 5 or in your university when you have lunch with carbs, you notice you crash and you get tired afterwards. So it has its pros, and I like it. I think it's great. But for true athletes, for bodybuilding purposes, it's good to do if you have a hard time getting lean.
Right.
But I believe that glucose, carbohydrates, is important for performance.
Oh. One thing a friend of mine. With bodybuilding, it's very hard to not eat meat. And a friend of mine, good friend of mine, he stopped eating meat because he was having bad stomach issues. It gets very complicated, but he stopped eating meat and all of his stomach issues went away.
Red meat?
He stopped eating meat in general. He went vegan, completely vegan. Now, a lot of people are going vegan and gluten-free they don't really have a full scientific reason. A lot of them are doing it just because they think I can't eat gluten or I can't eat meat. But the science behind it that helps people with IBS, with Crohn's, with anything like that, helps them tremendously. They don't get inflamed, anything like that. What's your view on bodybuilders doing any sort of vegan diets?
Well, gluten, I never tried to do gluten-free, but I'm pretty much gluten-free because when you're doing like rice and gluten-free oatmeal and like sweet potato, like I don't really have anything with gluten. Vegan, all right, here's my take on veganism. I'm very pro-vegan. I think vegans are onto something. I'm against the way that animals are raised now in slaughterhouses and the way they're treated. Yep. It's inhumane and the animal is toxic. Right. Antibiotics, steroids, depression, stress. I know that sounds funny, but the animal's not happy. It's not doing anything natural, right? So I don't think any vegan that says we're not meant to eat humans and the canines and we can't digest meat, I don't agree with that.
Right.
We've been eating meat for a very long time. We digest it fine and we do have canines. Just because they're not this long doesn't mean we don't. If we weren't meant to eat meat or we weren't accustomed to it, I would be throwing up right now because how much meat did we eat earlier?
A good amount of steak.
So and I'll go as far as saying that we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for animal meat. Vegans today are very lucky that they have Whole Foods and supermarkets that they can buy vegetables and fruits all year round, seasonal. Back in the day, hundreds, thousands of years ago, humans only had fruit seasonally and vegetables. And humans weren't even farming back then. So the development of the human, what kept us alive and made us develop, evolve, and even our brains develop was animal fat, animal protein, animal fat. So I don't agree with that. But your boy, I totally agree that yes, it solved his problems, not because he stopped eating meat, but because he stopped eating toxic meat.
Yeah.
So if he goes and starts hunting animals in the wilderness that have never seen a human being, true grass-fed, which I don't even know, like in the supermarkets, they say it's bullshit, but free range, grass-fed, a cow that grazes, moves, is happy and eats grass and doesn't have any antibiotics or steroids, chickens that are free to roam and are not, were not handled by human beings, I don't think he would have those issues.
I agree. I mean, me personally, I'm lucky enough, I don't know if everybody else is, but I'm lucky enough to have many farms by my house. And when I go shopping, I don't go to, Stop and Shop and everything like that. I go to farms. I go to one farm to get the chicken and the eggs. I didn't know that.
That's awesome.
I have 3 farms with me. One doesn't even sell meat. It's just strictly veggies.
The cheapest way to do it is like to go up to like the boondocks to a farm and buy a cow.
Yeah.
You can get
yeah.
a whole entire cow for approximately like $800.
Yep.
You could get it butchered and freeze dried and share it with like some family or friends. Luckily with NutriChef, like this was a big thing with meal prep. I always bought my own food, and like I always said, when I get older and I can afford it, I want to do like grass fed, and it's very expensive. I mean,
Very
guys,
expensive.
like organic free range chicken can be $10 a pound, whereas you can get chicken in the supermarket for 99 cents.
But the taste.
It's a big difference in
It's
consistency.
huge.
So what I'm really lucky with NutriChef, my whitefish right now, Bronzino's wild caught.
Bronzino's
the
great.
steak we ate was sirloin. It was flat iron grass fed.
Yeah.
And he has organic chicken, which I only have one meal, but I cut chicken out for a long time because chicken is what's pumped with the most amount of crap.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course, 100%.
So I think the food that you eat, where it comes from, is a huge factor.
Yeah.
And it's something that you guys should be paying a lot of attention to because, listen, if you eat some meat, chicken, steak once in a while that's not grass-fed, dude, it's not going to kill you. I mean, there's the 90-year-olds that are alive today, they all ate this crap.
Yeah.
Well, actually, when they were younger, they ate the good farm stuff.
Exactly.
But it's not going to kill you. But when you're a bodybuilder and if you're eating 8 ounces over 6 meals, that's 3 pounds of animal flesh.
A day.
A day. No hardcore bodybuilder is doing this for a week or two. We're doing this for 10, 15 years. So think about that. Think about what kind of effect that's going to have on your health and your digestive tract if that meat, that 3 pounds, 2 pounds, 4 pounds, whatever it may be, is toxic.
Right. 100%. I mean, that's why I said I feel blessed. The fact that I have those farms near me.
Yeah.
And, it's the taste is different. You pay a little more, but you know what? I'm getting 100% grass-fed organic meat.
Yeah.
And it's great. So if you guys do have that option, take advantage of it. Definitely.
I think that's enough for today, man. I don't want to
Yeah, no, it was great.
talk on too many subjects.
Yeah. Till next time.
Hope you guys liked it. We'll come back soon.
Yeah. Awesome, bro. That's great.